Hotep fam, head to poo. Minister Imhotep here. Welcome to the Alkemystic Mind with Minister Imhotep. I'm glad you're joining me on this journey. I apologize for any technical difficulties we may have as we're working through this thing together. Any mistakes, just count them as love as we figure this whole thing out. I promise you, we will get better and better as we go along. We are here in Caribbean Life TV Studios. Out here with Mr. Lawrence Prescott. Thank you, Mr. Prescott. He's producing this show and is reaching out to the diaspora. We're excited because this is a new journey for me, trying something different, something new. Minister Imhotep as the Alkemystic Mind. Alchemistic, hey, that's a word I made up. Alchemism, it's about changing. It's about the old practice of trying to transform a common metal and a mundane into a precious. And mystic, just sort of the practices that were necessary as we delve back into ritualism and all those types of things, touching some of the ancient, should I say ageless truths of before. And that's what we're all about on this show. It's about transformation. How do we transform our lives? And we do that by transforming our minds. When you transform your mind, you transform your life. I am blessed and honored to have with me today in the studio a brother by the name of Christopher Williams. I'm not talking about Albie Shure's cousin. We ain't talking about New Jack City. He ain't gonna sing for you. But this Chris Williams is a 40-year metaphysician, a 40-year metaphysician. And he's all about the practice of bringing things into your experience, into your existence. As above, so below. And that's what we've been told from the mystics of times immemorial, that as we think, so is our reality. Now, Chris has done some wonderful things in his time. He has been a huge businessman in business development. He even had diplomatic credentials at one point, but he also experienced a severe health setback that he is like a phoenix rising through right now. Now, the interesting thing is that for so many metaphysicians, health challenges have been a part of their journey. It's part of what's crystallized them. Think about Mary Baker Eddy and the Christian Science Church, Charles Fillmore with Unity, and even our own Dr. Barbara King in Atlanta, our late great bishop who actually ordained me. So, but she had tuberculosis and had to effect a cure herself by first working on her mentals, by first declaring that she could not be sick. And those are the things that allow metaphysicians to overcome their situations. Chris is in the moment overcoming a situation, but that has not affected his mentality in any way. He's probably the most optimistic brother I've met in quite some time. So he's come along my path, and he's introduced me to some new technologies and new things, bringing about manifestation into existence. Now, at this point, I'd like to present Chris Williams. And Chris, I'm going to keep it 100. Anyone looking at you may say, this brother's not the appearance of what we perceive as success and all these types of things. But tell us why the appearance is not the truth and who Chris Williams is.
First, thank you for having me. Honored to be here. That's a loaded question. Because on the one hand, I'm just myself, and I really, you know what I'm saying, I'm just being myself most of the time, all the time, really. So I'm not really overly focused on image. Yeah, I never have been. Never been the corporate suit and tie type person. Always been casual, always laid back. Now, as far as my health issues, yeah, I'm dealing with some dental stuff because my calcium got low. I was anorexic. I built my health back from that. I'm definitely a work in progress, but I'm at the latter end of it. I'm over most of it and on the way to full recovery.
Okay.
So, yeah, a lot of, but that is manifestation because I actually manifested myself out of the situation.
Yeah, because I know some of your experience, and it's been quite a challenge. In fact, Chris had to spend about 2.5 years in a nursing facility, and you've had to encounter a lot with this medical establishment that isn't always about trying to make a person whole or trying to heal them. but you had to interject and actually stand up as your own advocate. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience of dealing with the healthcare system and how one, versus another, because they're not all the same?
Well, I was in the hospital for 8 months. And then on top of that, 2.5 years in nursing home. I mean, a lot of good people work there, very dedicated, staff is good, but they are businesses. And sometimes what's profitable trumps what's, other decisions. So that's kind of what I had to work through. And if I was something was going to be prescribed for me or recommended for me, I knew it wasn't in my best interest. I'm like, can't do that.
So a lot of that had to deal with what you actually consumed, what you ate.
Correct.
In terms of, a lot of people may not realize this, but when you go into some of these facilities, especially a nursing facility, they take all of your income and everything else and basically have you at their mercy of what they want to feed you. But that's not always the things that are best for you. So how did you actually deal with that situation of the nutrition?
I basically just controlled what I ate. I ordered outside food most of the time and ate what I knew I needed to eat to heal. There was some back and forth, but that's pretty much how I focused it.
And so that's also been part of your journey as well. I know you have a very strict and regimented diet, but you consume only the best and highest quality. And I guess that axiom of you are what you eat is actually true.
Yeah, food is vibration. Higher the vibration of the food, higher your energy level and healing ability overall.
Well, talk a little bit about what is higher vibration food. What do you mean when you say that?
As processed as little as possible. Also, when it comes to vibration of food in general, fruit has the highest vibration, then next being vegetables, then grain, then meat. And so I do just about, of course, organic. If it's beef or if it's chicken, it's going to be grass-fed.
Pasture raised or whatever.
Yeah, that type of stuff. Personally, I avoid grain. That's just a personal choice. And my blood type being A, I eat according to my blood type as well. Because every blood type has a different dietary need.
Well, what does an A blood type require?
We're going back to the history of blood types. According to the book, Eat Right for Your Type, the type O.
That's me.
That's
positive.
That's the original hunter-gatherer.
Right.
Okay, so there was no farming when your blood type came into being. You hunted, you ate meat, and you ate lots of green vegetables and some root vegetables. So when agriculture came along, we had to adapt. And so that's when grain came into being. Type A is we can handle carbs differently. Like I know that most diabetics are type O.
Okay.
You're just not made for all the sugar.
Not made for all the sugar and the carbs. Right.
But you can handle red meat. Whereas for us, type A, we're going to do better on fish and chicken, and we can do more carbs and get away with it.
Okay.
I like raw honey, as you know.
So I should be a carnivore. Right? Well, the keto diet is probably a good one for being in terms of moderate protein, high fat, that type of thing.
Yep. You burn fat for carbs in that situation.
Okay.
Fat's usually fat for energy, opposed to lots of carbs.
Okay.
It's not going to spike the blood insulin like carbs would.
So during the course of this series, we're going to have conversations, transformative conversations about lots of things, health being one of them. Chris is actually well-versed in several different areas. For the purposes of this first conversation with Chris, we're going to talk a lot about manifestation and what that means. In fact, I'm calling this why is your manifesting not manifesting what you want? Because a lot of people, that's a buzzword these days, manifesting. A lot of people, social influencers are using it. Everybody's talking about it, but not everybody is having the experience of bringing what they put out there into their experience, that it becomes a reality. Now, one of the things that Chris introduced me to is a tool that I've been utilizing for the last couple of weeks called the Wheel of Abundance, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But I want you to give your own definition, or when we talk about manifesting, exactly what does that mean?
Creating your reality. But understand, everyone manifests.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of learning how to manifest. When you're breathing, you're manifesting. The question is, how do you manifest what you want and stop manifesting what you don't want? And that's the challenge. And the reason that's the challenge is, on one level, okay, when children come in, we actually even when they're in the womb, but when they come into this world, they don't have a conscious mind developed. Mm-hmm. That's your filter. So they're in a state of hypnosis till like 7, 8 years old. That's why they learn so fast, absorb everything like a sponge. So everything goes right in as they observe the environment around them, which for most of us was not prosperity and wealth. You hear the negative things: money doesn't grow on trees, don't waste money. So these things are the foundation that most of us get early on. And then you spend the rest of your life, unless you know some techniques to overcome it, to change that script that's still just playing like a recording all the time in the background that's dictating your experiences. So it's more about changing the script, changing what comes through. Because the way it basically works is, you can say God, Spirit, however you want to call infinite power that runs the universe, is inside you, and it radiates out through you. So it's an inside-out job. Mm-hmm. It's like a light, old school projector. It's like a light. Whatever that film is, whatever your beliefs, your scripts, your basic images, because we think in pictures more so than words. If I say elephant, you picture an elephant. So those images that you are reinforced become your script, your film. The light shines through, and then the physical life is your reality. Some mystics say 3D life is a 3D hologram.
Okay.
Reality is literally inside your head, and you change what's inside your head. It changes what it reflects, and it changes you respond.
Awesome. So you would say that most of us have been conditioned?
Yes, absolutely. And even in the womb, I mean, you're being conditioned by what the mother feels, what she experiences. So you have conditioning before you're even born. And then from there, it just continues. And by the time you try to be conscious, at age, whatever, if it's 12, 13, 15, most of your scripting got done before you were 8.
Mm-hmm. So what are the institutions that primarily affect that conditioning or instruments of it?
When you come in when you're a child?
Or at any point?
Growing up is everything. School teaches you to follow rules. Your parents teach you to obey. TV has its images on there. The habits of what you see around you. This is what I should look like. More family believed to be have a propensity with certain illnesses. A lot of that's just programming. It just absorb it like a sponge.
Mm-hmm. And so what you do is try to help people to reprogram, break through that programming.
How to show them how to first decide what they want, because a lot of people aren't even clear as to what they want, and that's important. The mind likes clarity. So once you arrive at what you want, then it's a question of how do you put that in a manner that reprograms or overrides what's already there. And part of the issue is it never what's there is a permanent record, like the Akashic records, like the book of life. So you don't erase your old programming, but the question is which one is dominant. And that's why you see people go forth and manifest, then they'll fall back, then they go forth again, they exert the will and they manifest, and they go back in because the old programming is always there.
I guess it's sort of like a computer when you delete something and the
not
deleted
really
files are still there.
Exactly, still there.
But your program helps to sort of overwrite some of those files.
Yes. Thoughts are things. Mm-hmm. Thoughts have their own inherent electromagnetic field. Science has proven this. So when you think a thought, you're clothing it in energy, spiritual energy. And I say it's like the sea. The big fish eat the little fish. So it's a question of which thoughts are dominant. And so in metaphysics, we have tools, and those tools help us make sure the thought is powerful enough to where it's the dominant thought and not the recessive thought.
Okay, and would you elaborate on what some of those tools are?
The primary ones I like to use are just symbols, because symbols go back, they're thousands of years. So they're in your, like you think of a car. Okay, a car is a recent invention. If you talk to somebody in the 1500s, they would have any clue what a car was. but everybody knows what a candle is. They know what fire is. They know what water is. They know what a star is. These are things that have been going in our psyche for eons. So when they represent pools of energy deep within the unconscious. So you tap into those, that's a power source. It's like, what battery are you plugging into? And it's not like different gods or anything like that. It is aspects of self. And I say that like white light. Well, depending on what you're doing, you want to grow plants, you might want green light.
There's a spectrum of.
Right, so you want to isolate the light you want for what you're doing. And that's why the different energies, they're not separate from God or not a part of God. They're specific frequencies. It's like God has different names, whether it's Jehovah or Elohim or Shaddai. Those are all different vibrations, different aspects of God. So when you're manifesting, you want to figure out what rules what you're doing. And think like a corporation. You don't go to CEO for everything. Maybe it's customer service, maybe it's HR, maybe it's accounting. The universe that is above, so below, same thing. There's organization to it.
Got it. In your experience, have you found that most people don't really know what they want?
I think most people have been told what they want, and they try to adhere to that, and they haven't explored deep enough to figure out what they really want. They're operating off what they're told they should want.
And a lot of times it's easier also to frame what you don't want.
Correct. It's easy to complain what you don't want. And that just gives energy to what you don't want. What you give energy to, what you thought to, you're putting energy behind it and you're manifesting. So complaining is actually worsening the problem.
So how do you, that tool called the Wheel of Abundance, how did you develop that?
Well, I've been teaching metaphysical classes, small ones, taught some on a couple campuses, taught some at the health food stores. So the results of my students is important to me. So I wanted them to get results, and they weren't getting results the way I wanted them to get results. So naturally, being the person I am who's not going to settle, I'm like, okay, it's not their fault, it's me. What do I need to do different? And so I started just really drilling down on what was going to overcome the issues they had, whether it was being able to relax, whether it be able to focus, concentrate, visualize, be motivated to do it long enough to get the results they wanted. So the wheel is a good tool to start with because it takes a bunch of different things, makes them very, very simple to use, 10 minutes twice a day, and it's really symbolic programming. For instance, you watch a movie, right? Now, your conscious mind filters things. You say, I'm a millionaire, and the conscious mind says, no, you're not, right? And it doesn't get past the conscious mind, it's not really going to do that because the subconscious affects the manifestation.
Right.
So a dollar sign symbol, that goes past the conscious barrier into the subconscious. The way that works, like with music. Music does not get filtered out.
Right.
Color does not get filtered out. That's why you can watch a movie, and it's a movie, but they show a sad thing, you still may tear up because it's talking to the inner child, the subconscious, and it's responding. So the real key is mostly when you see what they call ritual, and everyone has rituals, whether it's the church or whatever. Those rituals are designed to get a message symbolically past the conscious mind into the subconscious mind.
So I know ritual has traditionally played more of a role with the indigenous folks and so forth, but are there still rituals that are a part of our daily experience as a modern person?
Everything's a ritual. If you say grace before you eat, that's a ritual. If you brush your teeth every day, take a shower, that's a ritual. Rituals are just habitual things you do that cause you to develop a certain way over time. If it's working out every day and you do it consistently, that's your ritual. And the benefits of that are better physical fitness, better health. So life is full of rituals. Rituals allow you to carve that pathway, that habit pathway, to do things that are in your benefit.
Because a lot of people they hear a word ritual and they put a negative association on that.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to have a little clarity on that there's nothing negative about it, and it's a part of our experience. And in fact, the church is full of ritual.
Absolutely.
communion and
Another,
baptism.
another word that really sparks that thing that be even more intense is the word occult.
Uh-huh.
They're like, uh-oh, that's devil worship. No, the word occult means hidden from the
Hidden,
masses. From
secret.
the masses. The Bible's one of the most occult books ever written. There's lots of secrets in there if you understand that it's layers, it's depth.
Right.
So there's nothing evil about that word. It just means, like for instance, your food has vibration and it has certain healing properties. That's something not known to most people until very recently. That made it occult knowledge. Now it's being de-occulted and made mainstream.
Yeah, and that's as metaphysicians, that's what we call ourselves, urban inspirational metaphysicians. I'm part of a ministry called In Spirit Truth Center, and that's a term that Minister Server coined in terms of urban inspirational metaphysics. And that's what we do. It's ageless truths, but set in a contemporary examples and things that people can relate to now, because so many of the what we know as New Thought pioneers, they were in the early 20th and 19th centuries, and their language and references are all colored by their experiences from that time as well. So we're just trying to bring it up and make it more contemporary. But when you look at the Bible in a metaphysical way, that each of the persons, places, or things, and nouns that are in there are just aspects of yourself. And that makes it much more useful than just looking at it as
It's
religion.
in plain sight. It's in plain sight.
Uh-huh.
It says, done to you as you believe.
Exactly.
Most people hear that, but they don't understand the depth of it.
Right.
If you understand the depth of it, you understand everything in your life you're experiencing, it means it's a belief you've accepted, consciously or unconsciously. So you understand the depth of that, you understand the importance of changing that belief.
So, and literally that's basically what the message of Jesus was that your kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's right here. We're actually in the month of July. July in the unity tradition represents understanding, spiritual understanding. The disciple associated with that is Thomas. People say, well, wasn't he the doubter? But Thomas wasn't afraid to ask questions.
Great.
And that's why he represents that spiritual understanding, because the only way you really get knowledge is by being willing to question.
Exactly.
And so that's the journey that we're on. We're all truth seekers on this thing. Chris, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up into metaphysics?
I think it was just my path from birth. Because when I was born in New York, New Rochelle, left when I was 2, don't remember New York. Moved to Cleveland. The neighborhood there, that was most impactful. Because it was a neighborhood where I walked to school, and I walked home every day for lunch and before and after school. And there'd be packs of dogs, that were stray dogs sometimes, that brought me to the garbage cans. And when you're 5, 6 years old, you're like a meal. So they get after you. I'm jumping fences. I'm jumping hedges. I'm doing things that are physically impossible for a 5-year-old to do. I didn't get bit. And I realized at that point there was some higher power at work that was allowing this to happen. And I came to know that it was just there, because it happened too many times. You're having a run with a kid, and you go to get down a flight of stairs, and you don't get hurt. And like, okay, what was that? I totaled 2 cars, walked away from both, not a scratch.
You say you totaled 2 cars?
Totaled 2 cars. And so I know that the higher power is real. And it's not a maybe for me. So there was a question starting to understand it. Then at age 12, I got to martial arts, Kung Fu in particular, and we focused on what we call Qi, and life force. In yoga, they call it prana. Right. So you start cultivating that. It's part of the essence of what you're doing. And as you cultivate that, you become more conscious of the breathing, the meditations, those type of things. And then from there, that was what giving me control over myself. And I just realized after a period of time, this can be extended beyond just myself, and I can affect my environment. And that's when I started really getting into the programming and affirmations and visualization.
Around what age was that?
Probably before 16, I'm between 12 and 16. Because I realized that a lot of what I was doing in martial arts was visualizing. And I didn't know that's what it was, but that's what it was. Like those people who know me, know I've done demonstrations where I lay on a bed of nails and let guys stand on me. It doesn't pierce my skin. I've had cylinder box broken on my head. No injury. I used to have people in the football team punch me and see they dove me over, couldn't faze me. And people say, how do you train for that? Walking our coals. How do you train for that? And the training is not physical. The training is a visualization exercise. You're taking the energy of the chi, you're imagining it circulating throughout the body, surrounding the body, and you can focus it and channel it and move it. And as you learn that, over time, you have that level of control. But that's when I realized, okay, this is visualization I learned in martial arts.
So did you start your martial arts training there in Cleveland? I know you actually ended up moving to Pensacola, right?
Correct. No, I started in Pensacola. I moved to Pensacola around 12, that summer, 11 and 12. I had my August birthday. So I moved, I probably was 11 just when I turned 12, Pensacola, and that's where I got involved in martial arts.
Okay, what style of Kung Fu were you studying?
Well, Shaolin. But I started out with, like most people do, I was exposed to Shotokan, karate, then Taekwondo, little judo. So I moved around a little bit first, kind of just sampling from people that were available around me to train with and learn from. And with the TV series Kung Fu, came out, and that did it for me. That mesmerized me. Like, that's what I want to know. So I started focusing from that point of view.
So obviously you were a 70s child because...
And it helped my health a lot. That's also another big part of it. I got into what you call Qigong. And that's really focused on more of the health aspects, like short form Tai Chi. And that really started improving my health.
So speaking of your health, what exactly, or I mean, you don't have to go into details, but what are the major things that you're actually dealing with right now? And when did that begin to impact you in such a way that it restricted your mobility? Because you were vibrant, you were doing Kung Fu, you were actually teaching Kung Fu, as I recall.
In my late teens and 20s, yeah. I haven't taught in a long time, but in my 20s in particular. I taught a little bit at AU Center in Spelman.
Because you actually attended Morehouse, right?
I did.
Okay. What was your major at Morehouse?
Started out as biomedical engineering, and then I changed it to finance.
Okay.
And that I thought I had a general scholarship for academics. I could do whatever major I wanted. I realized that when I changed my major, I lost scholarships. So that, yeah. But,
what made you change from that? That seemed like two different worlds. What made you change?
Because I had health issues growing up. I was asthmatic as a child. Started growing scoliosis at age 10, rashes, constipation, just general issues that doctors didn't help me with. When I got to martial arts, these things started clearing up.
So you said you developed scoliosis at age 10. Is that
Right.
something that typically, like I have a niece and she was born with it severely, but is that something that happens often, that people are subject to it, or that it can happen?
Well, that's a whole kind of different conversation, because I do resonate with Louise Hay.
Yeah.
That, she talks about the emotional cause of all disease, and I do believe that diseases are based on that. So at 10, it was kind of traumatic for reasons I don't want to go into it.
Yeah, don't have to.
Yeah. But that's why that developed, in my opinion. Yeah, everything I've dealt with, I relate to what was going on in my life at the time. And I make that mind-body connection.
So why do you think it came back on you after a time?
Well, that was, what happened recently? Yeah. What happened recently, that was just a food problem on my part, because I've always been working to eat healthy. You tweak your diet. I'm one of those people that takes risks. I don't mind pushing the envelope. And I was mostly vegan. I was looking for a longevity diet, and I was looking to go as much plant-based as possible. And I wasn't getting enough protein, although I didn't know that at the time. And I started having issues because of that. And being that I kind of written off Western medicine at the time, I didn't seek out that help. I was going the totally natural route, and it just wasn't working. And so I basically exhausted all the things I knew, and I know quite a bit, but I exhausted things I knew, and I had to go in the hospital and get that help.
So there is a place for both traditional medicine as well as holistic, the integrative approach?
Yes, absolutely. My personal take is Western medicine is fantastic for trauma. If you have a trauma, that's where you need to be. But when it comes to disease, there are certain benefits to holistic medicine I like personally, like more. But they're growing closer together.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
There was a time when I remember back here, like 30 years ago, I'd ask they sell on a bottle of herbs. They say, talk to your physician before you take this. And I taught them, they didn't know anything about it. Now, most of them are pretty educated when it comes to herbs and nutrition, that type of stuff. So it's changing.
Okay. And as we go through this series ongoing, we're going to have even more discussions about health, nutrition, wellness, and all those types of things, because all those things are transformative. Now I'm going to get back to the wheel of abundance. We talked about it being loaded with symbology. What are some of the symbols that you've incorporated into it?
Well, one in the center is the name just eluded me.
The home?
Om, thank you. Thank you for that. Om, which is the sound of the universe. If you take all the sounds of the universe and put them together, you get Om. So Om centers you. That's the purpose of that one. That's why this is the center of the wheel. Astrology symbols, especially the planets, are the same thing as the musical notes, same thing as the colors, the same thing as the chakras. A lot of people don't know that connection, but they actually are just different ways of expressing the same thing. So like Mars is your root chakra.
Mars is your root chakra, you said?
Chakra.
Okay.
And, Mercury would be your orange, your the chakra in the navel area.
The solar?
Not solar.
Right
Solar's just,
before. Solar's the yellow, right?
I think the sacral. I think it's called the sacral.
Sacral, right.
So then you got your solar plexus, which is your sun.
Uh-huh.
And then Venus is the heart. And Jupiter being the throat. So the astrology symbols are ancient symbols that connect you with those frequencies. Those frequencies are low. As above, so below. The microcosm and the macrocosm, they don't just align you within, they align you without. Because like in metaphysics, we say Jupiter is one of the planets of wealth. So the Jupiter symbol aligns you with the frequency of wealth that's already pre-existing. So think about a radio. You want to tune into a certain station?
Right.
The station's playing whether you're listening or not.
Absolutely.
It's a matter of you tuning into it. The symbol helps you tune into it, then those experiences start becoming your experiences. So that's the reason I like also symbols more so than affirmations, because certain affirmations are universal. A lot of the affirmations are individual. And then that individual affirmation may not have the same oomph as a universal affirmation, because it's not connecting you to a frequency that's pre-existing and already flowing.
Give me a difference between a universal and an individual.
I have a brand new car.
That's personal, individual.
That's personal. That's personal.
Right.
Whereas just like I'm divinely guided on my ways. That would be one that aligns you. Or infinite spirit guides you, my eye is good. That aligns you. Where other ones, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with manifesting personal things. But it's that when it comes to the power behind it, plugging in makes it easier to get certain things done than just using your own personal power.
Awesome. Now, I know we just experienced the strawberry moon. It was a full moon. How do the lunar cycles affect us?
The moon affects all bodies of water on the planet. It affects the tides, one of the most obvious ones. We're 70% water approximately. Some people say a little more, a little less. But our blood is liquid. You know, we have lymphatic fluids, liquid, all is affected by the moon. So the moon regulates the fluid balance in the body. And there are times of increase, times of decrease, because there's cycles. So it's said in metaphysics that you want to attract something, you can manifest anytime. But if you're going to launch a ship, it'd be easier to launch it when the tide's going out when the tide's coming in. The same thing, docking would be easier when the tide's coming in. So as you align with the moon, you get that extra push to whatever you're doing.
So it's interesting that, as you say, that everything seems cyclical. Even the woman's menstrual cycle and all that seems to coordinate with the moon as well. Yeah.
Correct. We're part of nature. We're not separate from nature.
And I think that's been our challenge, is that we see ourselves separate and apart
Right.
for it. And
It's separate from each other because everything's interconnected.
That's why we're experiencing so much climatic changes and all these other things, because we haven't recognized that oneness. Now, I know that in your previous life, you've also been involved in many high-level deals and real estate and development and finance.
Well, that was part of my motivation for the metaphysics as well, because I had realized early on I want to be wealthy. And I knew that just hard work alone or being smart or was not enough. And I'm being a student of life. I said, what do the wealthy people know and do that people that are poor don't know? Surely it's not necessarily being smarter, because you have plenty of smart, broke people. And not necessarily harder working, because some of the poorest people work the hardest. So I said, what's the edge they have? And I realized early on that it's programming. You go to books like Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Yep, which is made from the book Laws of Success in 16 Lessons.
Right.
Which talks to, I think, Andrew Carnegie at the time was a steel tycoon,
Right.
and he was considered the wealthiest man in the world.
Right.
And so he hired Napoleon Hill to research him. He mentioned all his friends, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the Hunts. He said, study us and find out what we have in common that makes us the way we are as far as the wealth, and distill it into a system that can be taught. And it took him quite a few years. I don't know, it was 20, 30 years. I don't know the exact time, but he did that. And he released, I think in 1925, 1926, Law of Success in 16 Lessons. And it was so profound, the wealthy decided, we don't want the masses to know this, and they pulled it off the market.
They started redacting it.
Pulled it off the market. And then later on, they came up with Think and Grow Rich, which is some of the meats from
A watered down version.
What can you say that? Yeah. It still works, but just not. It's not. Some of the nuggets have been taken out of it.
I know Kevin Trudeau has made that same point on several occasions as well, about, there are things that the Brotherhood and Illuminati, secret societies, Skull and Bones, and all those, that wealthy royalty, those families that we're not always privy to.
Correct.
Now, I know that from our conversations, one of the ways you were sort of indoctrinated into this is that there were some elderly folks or some established business people who brought you into their world. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
When I left college, I started my business, Financial Sources Inc., which I still have, as a financial brokering company. And basically, our job was to mesh borrowers with sources of funding. I didn't really, I bought a course. At the time, I still do. I was doing some programming. I was going to manifest this. I did manifest it, but I bought a course which gave me a database of sources of funding. And there was a newsletter I subscribed to as well that people could advertise it for free. People seeking money, seeking project funding. And so I joined that as well, advertised what I did. And I did incorporate, and I had my letterhead and so on and so on. Work from home. So I was doing home business, long form, most people were doing home business. And I started getting projects in. Now understand, I was getting the projects of people that had nothing to work with. I did not come out of corporate America. I hadn't worked for a brokerage firm or a bank or a law firm. So I had no real resume that would warrant somebody with serious money coming to me for funding.
Right.
So I was getting people that had great ideas, and they had using no credit, no money, no assets, no anything, but they had great projects. Me being the person I am, saying anything that's good can be funded, so I'm sending them across to these funding sources. And I wrote them all initially, because back then, we're talking about the early 80s, early mid-80s. There was no internet to use. There was no fax machine even. I got one of the first fax machines I knew about it as far as my circle of people I worked with. It was either snail mail, or it was phone calls, or it was FedEx.
Okay.
And so I wrote these people snail mail, wrote them letters, typed up letters, and they mailed me back their programs and their systems. What was fortunate, what manifested out of my whole started doing this, some of these guys had tremendous resumes. They had worked in corporate America. Most of them had serious money, worth hundreds of millions, some were billionaires. And they were basically in their 70s, 80s, a lot of them. They were retired, but they didn't want to retire. So one of them was a general counsel for a major law firm. A lot of them worked around the world. One owned a cement company. And so I'm here in my early 20s, green as grass. So they took me under their wing. My phone bill was larger than my regular bill, larger than my rent, because back then you paid for long distance separate. There was AT&T, and there was
Right.
South, and
Right.
you had to pay for that bill separate. But that's where my training really came from. These guys mentored me. They would look at the project, they told me what was wrong with it, what was right with it. They told me what to tolerate, what not to tolerate. They helped me craft business plans. They basically just poured into me in terms of what they knew. Because understand the landscape back then. You have some guy who's 80 years old, who's done it all, who's worth lots of money. Let's say he worked for a major company, like an oil company or something, and he was stationed overseas. He might not see, there was no Zoom, there was no, video conferencing that was available to the average person. So he might see his family twice a year or once a year. So they're not really close at this point. His children are grown, they're in their 30s and 40s. Even the wife, they're cordial, they're still married, but they're not as close as they were there all the time doing family outings together. Children have their own life, they have their children, and his buddies are dying off, heart disease, cancer, whatever. So these guys had no one to really appreciate what they've been through. And I was that guy. I was like, I would know everything you know. I'm a fast learner. I'm studious, I'm focused, I'm dedicated. So you want to teach, I want to learn it.
That actually supports the whole concept of how we always traditionally learn was an apprenticeship system.
Mentorship.
Mentorship, exactly.
I had mentors that were incredible, that we worked on deals together in live, real time. It wasn't like classroom lectures. It was real time, real deals, and I learned a lot. And so I transitioned from being a financial broker to being a business financial consultant, because I learned so much about the process of what funders want, what makes a deal work, what makes it fail, the things most people don't know about submitting for funding. So that's this is what I've specialized in.
So did you specialize in any particular area? I know you did quite a bit in film and entertainment. Was that your area of expertise?
That was later on.
That was later on? Okay.
I started out with what I call asset-based financing. People who wanted to refinance a hotel or wanted to build out a real estate development, it was all collateral-based. And one of the funders I work with, who's still my mentor, we still work together. I met him in 1989. He's 81 years old now. He's one of the primary that taught me risk mitigation. But we started out with real estate transactions. And then someone submitted a film to me and said, can you fund this? And I'm like, I don't think so, because there's no assets here, but I'll find out. And then when I went to my guy, he's like, sure. Not only can we do, I've been doing it 20 years. I've funded films all over the world, so sure, we can do that. And that was a whole eye-opening experience for me, because I didn't know how films were funded with no assets, and he taught me that. But basically, they monetize you get your pre-sales, which is guaranteed sales with territory. Then you have your product placement, product integration, which you see in movies.
Right.
Then there's tax credits. And so then there's what the talent draw is based on their box office.
That's what happened. Georgia grows so much in the film industry, right?
So it just added to my level of understanding of how to structure deals. And the more deals you work on, they're all different, and you're going to learn something new every time.
Now, how did your health challenges interrupt your process or interrupt the flow?
That's what they did. They interrupted my prep. There were times I was so sick I couldn't work. 2001, I had a respiratory inflammation in my right lung that basically made me bedridden in terms of I could walk at the time, but I could barely breathe. So I wouldn't even use the term bedridden because I couldn't lie down. If I laid down, I couldn't breathe.
Oh, wow.
I had to kneel on the side of the bed, kneel on the side of the couch, whatever, to breathe. And I slept that way. But went to a doctor of Chinese medicine, Dr. Li Wah, and she told me
What was her name?
Dr. Li Wah. She's here in Atlanta.
Dr. Li Wah.
She's great. She's from Beijing.
Okay.
She knows her stuff. So what was interesting is I tried to do, I did some fasting to clear my body out and clear mucus out. And after 2 weeks, it didn't make a big difference. And she put me on an all-liquid diet. That was new to me, but it worked. Diet, herbs, acupuncture. That's all we did. And
Diet, herbs, and acupuncture.
it basically fixed it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that was fine. So I thought I was on my way and no more issues, no looking back. I was the worst behind me. And then in 2022, That's when stomach started bloating. I was trying to do a longevity diet, mostly vegan. Stomach started bloating. I'm self-diagnosing, which I don't recommend. But I do the probiotics, I'm doing the enzymes, I'm doing the detoxes, I'm juicing, and nothing was working. I was just losing weight and getting weaker. And I was like, well, I didn't really trust Western medicine. I had lost confidence in them based on my childhood. So I just did my best I could. I know people in health stores and some natural people, but they gave me some advice. But I basically didn't know the problem. So when I went to call the ambulance to the hospital, they put me in ICU, and they said that's not gas, that's fluid. It's fluid. They said you're losing your integrity because you've been low protein for too long. It's caught up with you. We broke it down, and that was a whole other learning experience.
Is that a common challenge for many? I mean, veganism, especially in the Black community, is growing in popularity. We're trying to make soul food vegan and everything else. Unfortunately, two of my favorite places, Soul Vegetarian and the West End and Healthful Essence, both closed this very recently. Okay. But I know there's a lot of carbohydrates that are in the traditional vegan diets that many people think they're doing great by eliminating meat, but they're taking on so many carbs that it sort of negates.
Well, it's different. It's different for different.
Well, by blood type, you said, yeah.
Blood type's part of it, but also, like in my case, because of the respiratory history, I avoided all grains. So a lot of people that will do things like quinoa or let's go buckwheat, and that's okay. But I wasn't doing those because those produce some mucus. And then, of course, I'm allergic to nuts, so that's a limitation of what I could eat.
Protein sources.
I'm trying to work around that, and that was just an added thing. If I could have eaten those things, not doing meat would not have been a problem. I don't think being a vegan with no meat is a problem if you have a balanced diet, but it does require knowing what a balanced diet is.
Knowing what it is.
Yeah, and a lot of people who are getting rid of meat don't know. Because meat is not just protein. Meat is certain minerals.
Right.
For instance, like iron. Hemi-iron, which comes from meat, mostly red meat, is a different absorption in the body than plant iron.
So that's what Impossible tried to, and Beyond and all those tried to replicate that. Right.
I personally don't eat any processed. You want it as unprocessed as possible.
Yeah, Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. You were working with clients at the time. Have you continued to work with clients? Have you recovered to the point that
I was in the middle of those projects. When I got sick, I had to suspend them. I am working on some of them now. We reestablished those and moving forward, yeah.
So you work with corporate clients. Did you also work with individuals?
Mostly they're the individuals with big projects. They weren't really major corporations.
Okay.
Most of them have what they need. It was, for me, it was more the people that wanted to do a project. Without getting into specifics, I do have NDAs, but like one is as an R&D medical thing. They have some patents that are on some really cutting edge technology. So they need funding. So those are the kind of things I get. The developer wants to develop something innovative in the real estate space. They're looking for funding.
So I know you're in the process of stabilizing now.
Yes.
So there's some challenges that you're dealing with in terms of that stabilization, but once you get past that, then...
Right. Oh, it took its toll on my finances. Being sick for 3 years basically took its toll. So it's like starting over.
Right.
That is the biggest challenge, but I've been working through it.
Now, the thing is, you actually hit millionaire status twice.
Yes.
Now, what happened? When the first time? What happened? And then
the first time, I bought 2 companies, leveraged buyout. Actually, the third was just asset purchase, but I did 2 leveraged buyouts. Companies that did over $1 million a year. I became an entrepreneur when I was 16 years old. Not no success at it, but I was just trying things. Mail order, knowing down real estate. I tried a lot of different things. And someone said, find a company with a motivated seller and take it over, because that gives you that baseline establishment. And so I looked for that. And it took me a while. I went to every business broker in Atlanta at the time I could get to, and which was most of them. I told them what I was doing for specifically, and they didn't have anything that fit in their portfolio that fit what I wanted. And then go back to manifestation, put the thoughts out there.
Right.
They want them to call me and say, I think I have something that's a fit for you. So we met that a few days later at his office with the seller, with the seller's attorney. We talked for a brief period of time. It was a perfect fit, and he agreed to. It required some money to close, $75,000 down, which I didn't have at the time, and he worked that too. The deal just came together. He financed most of it, and then there was a down payment because the broker wanted his commission, of course, and there was the bank loan that needed to be assumed by somebody who had the creditworthiness to take it on, which I didn't at the time, and so we factored that into the business, and the business funded those.
Okay. Is that part of your, I guess, your specialty, creative financing?
Creative financing is my specialty. Yeah.
Okay.
How to structure a deal. There's some people out there doing this very well. I've worked with some of Roland Frazier's programs. He's one of the masters of funding businesses.
As Roland Frazier?
Yep, I like his stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a former M&A attorney, mergers and acquisition attorney on Wall Street, and he's done lots and lots of deals.
So that concept of OPM, other people's money.
Absolutely. Absolutely what you do. I see people all the time that say, I want to save up my money and start a business. I'm like, that's really, really high risk. First off, 90% of all new businesses fail, and there's so much other money out there. If you have a good deal, you'll attract the money.
How do you recognize a good deal?
From an investor point of view, as I tell, because I used to get a lot of packages with good ideas,
Right.
and they were really marketing packages. They weren't business plans. It was like they were indirectly saying, gamble on me. I have a concept, and if it works, we'll make lots of money. I see a lot of those.
Right.
Those don't work. Anyone who's savvy with their money has learned how not to lose it, how to protect it. And the first thing I want to hear is, how do I protect my downside? How do I protect it? What if this great plan doesn't work?
Right.
How do I get my money back? So if you answer that question and structure that into the business plan you're working, then you got a better chance of getting it done. And then the other question is, how realistic are the numbers? Are they fantasy? Are they based on what?
Right.
And what's your management team look like? Are these people experienced and capable to do this, or are you just a bunch of new guys up there winging it? So when you can put those three things in place, you're well on your way to getting funding.
Okay. Awesome. Now, Chris, you have such a wealth of information that I'm not even going to attempt to mine all of it in this interview. What you have is a standing invitation, and we're going to talk about lots of subjects.
I appreciate that.
We're going to delve more into manifestation as we go along, but then we're also going to talk about health, nutrition, and wellness, and all those things as well. But what I want to know, and I want you to tell the audience, is how can they get in contact with you if they would like to engage you to help them in their own manifestation process? What's the best way to reach you?
Okay. I'm going to come to your first comment first about things, the wide range of things I know. I think it's important you understand that your inner world dictates your outer world.
Right.
The manifestation is the most important part. Kevin Trudeau talks about this, the how versus the why.
Right.
Most people focus on the how. That's the least important part.
And the what.
Well, you want the what.
We want the what.
You want to know
the how.
What it is.
Right.
But you don't need to know how.
Right.
You need to manifest the what.
Yes.
And the what will show you things that you didn't consciously know about to think of, and it brings things to you out of your awareness, and so that's really the key. So I've met a lot of this. What I started doing first behind the scenes, and now more in the front end. When I do work with a client, it's not just their project, but it's like it manifests.
Got it.
A lot of them have the poverty mindset. They have a great project, nothing wrong with it, but they can't connect with the money because they're not on the frequency of the money.
So that's one thing that we're going to talk about the next time we get together, is that poverty mindset. Now that we're about to run out of time, and I do want them to have your contact information.
Power, P-O-W-E-R, wealth, W-A-L-T-H, the number 4 at gmail.com.
Power Wealth 4, number 4
Right.
at gmail.com.
They send me an email.
That's powerwealth4 at gmail.com. Now, Get in touch with this brother. He has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of experience. And he's here available to impart that to you. And it's going to be a symbiotic relationship because at this time he needs to reestablish his client base as well. So it's a good time to get a bargain with him right now.
This is true.
You know, with stocks, they say buy low and sell high.
Right.
So many times we do just the opposite. But
Right.
now you got an opportunity to get a bargain, to connect with Brother Christopher Williams, a master of manifestation.
I'm still a student.
We're all still students.
I'm
We're
still a
all
student,
learning.
still learning, yeah.
But if you've been practicing it for 40 years plus, then I think you know a few things that you can impart to us as
Absolutely.
other students.
Well, I think what makes part of my journey unique is I've had my share of highs, but I've had my share of lows.
Uh-huh.
So when you come back from a low, first of all, when you lose what you have, you learn a lot.
Right.
On the way back up, you learn a lot.
Uh-huh.
So I can help the average person that has very little to work with, but I've had to do it more than once.
Well, that sounds like the Apostle Paul, who said, I've been abounded and I've been abased, and I've been able to be content in all things. I can do all things through Christ, who strengthens me. So that's the message that we want to leave, that your situation, your circumstances, they're always subject to change.
Correct.
But the truth of who you are is the truth of who you are. That stays the same. That's immutable, unchanging. We're one. We're connected with God. There is no separation between God and between us and the universe. And all things are colluding on our behalf. Right. And when we recognize that, we can bring them into our experience.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they are starting out. They can still get what they want.
Minister Imhotep, come back to Caribbean Live TV and radio, and we're going to continue with this conversation. This is only just the beginning. So thank you for walking with me on this journey, the Alkemystic Mind. I'm Minister Imhotep, a.k.a. Reverend Stanley Yorker, and I'm here to guide us through this as we navigate our way through this experience called life. Change your mind, transform your mind, transform your life. Oh, you want to follow me? Okay. I'm on YouTube. You can find me, Minister Imhotep, on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. You can find me, Stanley Yorker. You find me on Facebook. I'm on all the platforms, IG and so forth, again. But also, every morning, 7 a.m., there's the Daily Source of Light Morning Inspiration Call. I'll leave all the numbers in the content, in the comment section and so forth as we move forward. But it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to more on this journey. I'd like to thank Lawrence Prescott and Caribbean Live TV and radio for making this opportunity, and to all those in the diaspora who are listening. There are opportunities to transform your life even where you are right now. Your situation may not be what you desired it to be or thought it would be, but know that all things are working together for your good. And when you understand that and know that, all those experiences, whether you labeled them good or bad, they're all for your benefit. And so with that, we are out for this episode, and we're going to be back. So tune in, and we'll keep you abreast of when the next one comes. And I think that concludes us for today.